The skies above Earth had always held mysteries, but on that fateful night, they revealed something unprecedented. Dr. Samara Potel stood transfixed in the control room of the Deep Space Listening Array, her eyes wide as she stared at the pulsing signal on her monitor. After years of searching, they had finally found it, proof of intelligent life beyond Earth. "This can't be happening," she whispered, her hands trembling as she reached for the secure phone. Within hours, the news had spread through classified channels, reaching the highest levels of government and military command. The signal was undeniably artificial, originating from a point near Jupiter's orbit and approaching rapidly. As dawn broke over the world's major cities, humanity awoke to an announcement that would forever change the course of history. "Citizens of Earth," began the United Nations Secretary-General, her face grave yet filled with wonder, "we are not alone in the universe." The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Scientists worked around the clock to decipher the alien message, while world leaders convened in emergency sessions to plan humanity's response. In every nation, people alternated between celebration and fear, their eyes turned to the skies in anticipation. Captain Michael Chen of the newly formed United Earth Space Force found himself at the center of these preparations. As he strode through the corridors of the hastily constructed Lunar Base Alpha, he marveled at how quickly humanity had come together in the face of this momentous event. "Status report," he barked, entering the command center. Lieutenant Zara Okoro snapped to attention, her dark skin contrasting sharply with the sterile white of the lunar facility. "Sir, the alien vessel has entered the asteroid belt. At current velocity, they'll reach Earth orbit in approximately 72 hours. Chen nodded, his expression a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "And our fleet?" "All ships report ready, Captain, though I'm not sure fleet is the right word for 5 experimental spacecraft." A wry smile crossed Chen's face. "It's all we've got, Lieutenant. Let's hope it's enough for a proper welcome." As the hours ticked by, Earth held its collective breath. News channels ran non-stop coverage, experts debated the potential outcomes, and religious leaders called for unity and peace. In homes and public squares across the globe, humans gathered to watch the skies, hoping to catch a glimpse of their cosmic visitors. The alien ship appeared first as a faint star, growing steadily brighter until it outshone even Venus in the night sky. As it approached, telescopes revealed its true form, a massive crystalline structure that seemed to pulse with internal light. It was beautiful, awe-inspiring, and utterly alien. Captain Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, Earth's flagship, as they approached the alien vessel. "Open a channel," he ordered, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "This is Captain Michael Chen of the United Earth Space Force. On behalf of humanity, we welcome you to our solar system and extend our hand in friendship." For several tense moments, there was no response. Then, without warning, the alien ship's surface rippled, and a swarm of smaller craft erupted from within. Chen's eyes widened in horror as he realized their true nature, not a diplomatic envoy, but an invasion force. "Red alert! All ships, evasive maneuvers," Chen shouted, but it was too late. The swarm descended upon Earth's fledgling fleet with terrifying speed and precision. Beams of searing energy lanced out, slicing through human ships as if they were made of paper. On Earth, panic set in as the battle above became visible to the naked eye. Streaks of light crisscrossed the night sky, each one representing a fallen human defender. As governments scrambled to activate planetary defenses, the first wave of alien dropships breached the atmosphere. They came to be known as the Swarm, a fitting name for the insectoid creatures that poured forth from their landing craft. 8-limbed and encased in chitinous armor, they moved with a singular purpose: the eradication of human life. Major Elena Rodriguez led her squad through the rubble-strewn streets of Rio de Janeiro, the sound of distant explosions providing a grim backdrop to their mission. "Keep it tight, people," she hissed, her rifle sweeping the area for threats. "We need to get those civilians to the bunker." A chittering sound froze them in their tracks. Slowly, Elena raised her fist, signaling her team to take cover. From around a corner emerged a swarm scout, its compound eyes scanning the area. Elena held her breath, knowing that their standard-issue weapons were barely effective against the alien's tough exoskeleton. The creature paused, antennae twitching. For a moment, Elena thought they might avoid detection. Then, with lightning speed, it turned and launched itself toward their position. "Open fire," she yelled, her rifle blazing to life. Bullets pinged off the alien's armor, slowing it but not stopping its charge. Private Yuki Tanaka, the squad's heavy weapons specialist, hefted her experimental plasma cannon. "Eat this, Buck," she growled, squeezing the trigger. A ball of superheated gas erupted from the weapon, engulfing the swarm scout. When the light faded, all that remained was a smoking, twitching husk. "Nice shot, Tanaka," Elena said, allowing herself a brief smile. "But where there's one, there's bound to be more. Let's move." As they hurried through the city, guiding shell-shocked civilians towards safety, Elena couldn't help but feel a sense of despair. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, first contact with an alien civilization. But instead of cultural exchange and scientific marvels, they have received only devastation. Reports flooded in from around the globe: New York in flames, London overrun, Beijing a battleground. Humanity's military might, so often turned against itself, now seemed woefully inadequate in the face of this extraterrestrial threat. Back in lunar orbit, Captain Chen surveyed the remains of his fleet with a heavy heart. The Horizon, though damaged, had survived the initial onslaught. The same could not be said for her sister ships. "Status report," he said, his voice hoarse from shouting orders. Lieutenant Okoro's fingers flew over her console. "It's bad, sir. We've lost contact with most major cities. The swarm has established beachheads on every continent. Our forces are in full retreat." Chen closed his eyes, allowing himself a moment of grief for the lives lost. When he opened them, there was steel in his gaze. "What about the vault?" Okoro's eyes widened in surprise. "Sir, Project Sanctuary is still theoretical. We can't possibly." "We don't have a choice, Lieutenant," Chen interrupted. "Humanity needs a fallback position, a place to regroup and plan our counterattack. The vault is our best hope." Deep beneath the lunar surface, unknown to all but a select few, lay humanity's ultimate insurance policy. The vault, a vast complex of laboratories, living quarters, and manufacturing facilities designed to preserve the best of human knowledge and technology in the event of global catastrophe. As the Horizon limped toward the secret entrance, Chen allowed himself a glimmer of hope. The battle for Earth might be lost, but the war for humanity's survival was just beginning. On the planet's surface, Major Rodriguez and her team finally reached the entrance to the underground bunker. As the massive doors began to close behind the last group of refugees, Elena took one final look at the sky. The stars were obscured by smoke and the flashes of ongoing combat. "This isn't over," she whispered, hefting her rifle. "We'll find a way to take back our home." As the bunker sealed shut, cutting them off from the world above, humanity entered its darkest hour. But in the depths of despair, the seeds of resistance were already taking root. Unknown to the swarm, their invasion had awakened something in the human spirit, a determination to survive, to fight back, and ultimately to reclaim their place among the stars. The road ahead would be long and fraught with danger, but one thing was certain: humanity would not go quietly into the night. The war for Earth, and for the very future of humankind, had only just begun. 6 months had passed since the swarm's invasion of Earth. What remained of humanity was scattered, some hidden in underground bunkers, others fleeing to hastily established colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter. Captain Michael Chen, now Admiral of the remnants of Earth's space fleet, stood at the viewport of the lunar base, staring at the blue marble that was once humanity's home. "Sir," Lieutenant Okoro's voice broke through his reverie. We're picking up an anomalous signal. It's not swarm. Chen's head snapped around. Origin. Deep space, sir. Beyond the orbit of Neptune. Hup, that dangerous emotion he'd been suppressing for months, flickered in Chen's chest. Prepare the horizon for immediate departure. Whatever it is, we need to reach it before the swarm does. As the battered but still functional horizon broke lunar orbit, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of déjà vu. Once again, humanity was reaching out to the unknown. This time, however, they were doing so out of desperate need rather than curiosity. The journey to the outer solar system was tense. Every crew member knew that encountering the swarm could mean instant death, but as they approached the source of the signal, it became clear that whatever awaited them was something entirely new. Visual contact, Okoro announced, her voice filled with awe. On the main view screen, an alien vessel shimmered into view. Unlike the crystalline brutality of swarm ships, this craft was smooth and organic, almost whale-like in its graceful curves. Open a channel, Chen ordered, straightening his uniform. This is Admiral Michael Chen of the United Earth Space Force. We come in peace and in need of assistance. For a moment, there was silence. Then, to everyone's shock, a response came, in perfect English. Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Arcari. We've been observing your struggle against the swarm. It's time we talked. The next few hours were a whirlwind of diplomacy and cultural exchange. The Arcari, it turned out, were a spacefaring species that had been monitoring Earth for decades. They had avoided direct contact due to their policy of non-interference with developing civilizations. The swarm invasion, however, had forced their hand. Lyra, the Arcari ambassador, was a sight to behold. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, with iridescent skin and 4 arms, she exuded an aura of wisdom and compassion. "We've fought the swarm before," she explained to Chen and his officers. "They are a scourge upon the galaxy, consuming all in their path, but they can be beaten." As Lyra shared the history of the Arcari's own encounters with the swarm, Chen felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. Humanity was no longer alone in this fight. Back on Earth, the resistance was gaining momentum. Major Elena Rodriguez, now a colonel, led a daring raid on a swarm hive in the ruins of Moscow. As her team planted demolition charges, she caught sight of something strange, a human working alongside the aliens. "Hold fire," she hissed into her comm, creeping closer. The man seemed to be in a trance, his movements mechanical as he tended to alien egg sacs. "Tanaka, prep the null field generator. We're bringing him in." The extraction was messy, but successful. As Elena's team raced back to their hidden base, their unconscious prisoner in Tau, she couldn't shake the feeling that they'd stumbled upon something big. Dr. Samira Patel, the scientist who had first detected the swarm's approach, now found herself leading the research into their biology and technology. When Elena brought in the captured collaborator, Samira's eyes lit up with excitement. "This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for," she said, prepping her equipment. "If we can understand how they're controlling him, we might find a way to disrupt the swarm's hive mind." As Samira worked, news of the Arcari alliance spread through the resistance network. Hope, long suppressed, began to burn brightly once more. Aboard the Horizon, now docked with the Arcari vessel, Chen and his crew underwent a crash course in advanced technology. Lyra and her team shared designs for energy weapons capable of penetrating swarm armor, shields that could withstand their caustic attacks, and faster-than-light communication systems that would allow Earth's scattered forces to coordinate on a galactic scale. "This is incredible," Chen breathed, examining a holographic display of a new ship design. "With this, we might actually stand a chance." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch surprisingly warm. "Technology alone will not win this war, Admiral. The swarm's greatest weakness is their lack of creativity, their inability to adapt. Humanity's greatest strength lies in your ingenuity, your unpredictability. Combined with our technology and experience, it creates a formidable force." As the Arcari shared their knowledge, they also brought news from the wider galaxy. Other species had fallen to the swarm, while some fought on. A loose coalition of resistant species had formed, and with humanity and the Arcari joining their ranks, a true interstellar alliance was born. On Mars, the fledgling human colony had become a hub of activity. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, Yuki's father and a brilliant engineer, led a team in adapting Arcari designs to human manufacturing capabilities. "We don't need to match the swarm ship for ship," he explained to a group of military leaders. "We just need to create openings, exploits in their defenses that our ground forces can take advantage of." The plan that emerged was audacious. Small, agile craft would be used to punch holes in swarm fleet formations, allowing elite human strike teams to board and sabotage their ships from within. It was a strategy that played to human strengths: adaptability, close-quarters combat, and a willingness to take risks that the hive-minded swarm couldn't comprehend. As preparations for the counteroffensive ramped up, Chen found himself in quiet conversation with Lyra aboard the Arcari ship. "There's something I don't understand," he said, gazing out at the stars. "Why help us? You could have stayed hidden safe." Lyra was silent for a moment, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Long ago, my people faced extinction at the hands of another hostile species. We were saved by the intervention of a race we'd never met, a people who chose to help simply because it was right. We carry that lesson with us always. The galaxy thrives on diversity, on the sharing of ideas and cultures. The swarm represents the death of that diversity. They must be stopped, not just for humanity's sake, but for all sentient life." Chen nodded, a lump forming in his throat. The weight of what they were about to attempt settled heavily on his shoulders. Back on Earth, Colonel Rodriguez led a daring mission to liberate a swarm-controlled manufacturing facility. The intel provided by Dr. Patel's research had proven invaluable, allowing human forces to temporarily disrupt the local hive mind's control. As Elena fought her way through chittering hordes of disoriented swarm drones, she caught sight of the facility's central control hub. "Tanaka," she shouted over the din of combat, "get that door open." Yuki Tanaka, her face streaked with alien ichor, grinned as she hefted her newest weapon, a fusion torch designed to cut through even the toughest swarm armor. "With pleasure, Colonel." The door melted away, revealing a nightmarish scene. Humans, their eyes vacant and limbs moving with jerky motions, worked alongside swarm organisms to produce more of the alien war machines. "Null field up," Elena ordered. As the disruptive energy washed over the room, the enslaved humans collapsed like puppets with cut strings. The swarm creatures, suddenly cut off from their hive mind, fell into disarray. In the chaos that followed, Elena's team managed to extract dozens of captured humans and sabotage the facility's production capabilities. As they sped away in their stealth transports, Elena allowed herself a small smile. It wasn't a major victory, but it was a start. Aboard the Arcari ship, final preparations were underway for the first major joint operation against the swarm. Chen stood before a holographic display of Earth, surrounded by representatives from a dozen alien species. "The swarm believes they've won," he said, his voice firm. "They think humanity is broken, that Earth is theirs for the taking. They're wrong. With your help, we're going to remind them that humanity doesn't know how to quit. We're going to take back our home, and then we're going to take the fight to them across the stars." A cheer went up from the assembled aliens, a cacophony of voices and sounds that nonetheless conveyed a single message: unity in the face of extinction. As Chen turned to leave the briefing room, he felt a tug on his sleeve. A small, avian-like alien gazed up at him with eyes that swirled with galaxies. "A warning, Admiral," the creature chirped, its universal translator struggling to convey the gravity of its tone. "The path ahead is darker than you know. Sacrifices will be demanded, prices paid in blood and sorrow, but at the end, a light. Faint, but growing." Before Chen could respond, the alien had vanished into the crowd. He shook his head, pushing the cryptic message to the back of his mind. There would be time to ponder prophecies later. For now, there was a war to fight. As the combined fleet of human and alien ships prepared to jump back into the inner solar system, a palpable sense of anticipation filled the air. This was the moment that would define not just the future of humanity, but the fate of countless species across the galaxy. Admiral Michael Chen took his place on the bridge of the horizon, newly refitted with Arcari technology. As he gave the order to commence the attack, he silently vowed to honor the sacrifices that had brought them to this point. The battle for Earth was about to begin anew. This time, humanity would not stand alone. The void of space erupted into chaos as the Allied fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel on the edge of the solar system. Admiral Chen watched from the bridge of the horizon as hundreds of ships, human and alien alike, formed up into attack formations. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Commence Operation Thunderbolt. Across the fleet, pilots and gunners sprang into action. The plan was audacious, relying heavily on the element of surprise and the swarm's inability to quickly adapt to new threats. Leading the charge were the newly christened Firefly Squadrons, small, agile craft piloted by Earth's best. These ships, a fusion of human design philosophy and Arcari technology, darted between the lumbering swarm cruisers with almost impossible speed. Lieutenant Arya Khan, callsign Spark, led Firefly Squadron Alpha toward their first target. Remember the sim training, people, she called over the comm. Hit hard, hit fast, and don't let them box you in. The Fireflies struck like lightning, their energy weapons carving glowing furrows in the swarm ship's crystalline hulls. But it wasn't destruction they were after, not yet. Borders away. Arya shouted as her squad pulled a tight turn around a swarm dreadnought. In their wake, they left dozens of tiny, blinking devices attached to the enemy hull. Moments later, those devices activated, creating localized disruptions in the swarm's biomechanical interfaces. Simultaneously, boarding torpedoes launched from larger Allied ships slammed into the weakened sections of hull. Inside one of those torpedoes, Colonel Elena Rodriguez checked her gear one last time. The confined space was cramped with her elite squad of 6, a mix of humans and alien allies chosen for their unique skills. "Remember," she said, her voice steady despite the violent shaking of their transport, "our job is to sow chaos. Hit their command nodes, disrupt their communication, and get out. We are the virus in their system." The torpedo breached the swarm ship's hull with a thunderous crash. As the dust settled, Elena and her team burst forth, weapons at the ready. The interior of the swarm vessel was a nightmare of organic and mechanical fusion. Pulsing tendrils carried signals and energy, while insectoid drones scuttled about in eerie synchronization. "Null fields up," Elena ordered. Immediately, localized energy fields sprang to life around each team member, disrupting the swarm's hive-mind connection in their immediate vicinity. The effect was instantaneous. Nearby drones faltered, their movements becoming erratic. Some turned on each other, mandibles clashing in confused aggression. "Move out," Elena commanded. "Zrik, you're on point. Tanaka, watch our 6. Trick, a mantis-like Vexari warrior, chittered an affirmative and took the lead, his 4 arms each wielding a different weapon. Yuki Tanaka, bringing up the rear, hefted a massive energy cannon of her own design. As they fought their way deeper into the ship, Elena couldn't help but marvel at the effectiveness of their strategy. The swarm, for all its overwhelming numbers and advanced biotechnology, had a critical weakness: its reliance on centralized control. By inserting small, highly trained teams into key swarm vessels, the Alliance was effectively giving the massive alien force 1,000 spitting headaches at once. Back in space, the battle raged on. The Firefly squadrons continued their hit-and-run attacks, drawing swarm fighters into elaborate traps where larger Alliance battleships could pick them off. Aboard the horizon, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with growing hope. "It's working," he breathed, almost afraid to believe it. Beside him, Lyra nodded, her iridescent skin shimmering with excitement. Your people's tactics are unorthodox, but undeniably effective. The swarm has never encountered an enemy that fights quite like humanity. On Earth's surface, the tide was turning as well. Dr. Samara Patel, working from a hidden laboratory in the ruins of London, had made a breakthrough. It's not just a hive mind, she explained to the holographic projections of military leaders from around the world. It's a quantum entanglement network. That's how they coordinate so effectively across vast distances. She pulled up a complex diagram. But quantum systems are notoriously sensitive to observation. If we can generate the right kind of interference pattern, we can disrupt their entire command structure, finished General Hiroshi Tanaka, his eyes widening with realization. Samara nodded. Exactly. We don't need to destroy every swarm ship or drone. We just need to sever their connection to the central intelligence. As Samara's team worked feverishly to develop the quantum interference device, codenamed Babel, the space battle entered its second phase. Elena's boarding party had fought their way to the central node of the swarm dreadnought. The massive chamber pulsed with alien energies, tendrils of light and matter weaving complex patterns in the air. Charge is set, reported Yuki, placing the last of their antimatter explosives. Elena nodded. Good work, people. Now let's. Her words were cut off as a massive swarm creature burst through the far wall. Unlike the drones they'd encountered so far, this beast radiated malevolent intelligence. Praetor, shouted Zrick, his mandibles clicking in agitation. Hive node protector. The Praetor charged, its multiple limbs ending in wickedly sharp blades. Elena's team scattered, laying down suppressing fire that seemed to do little more than annoy the creature. Tanaka, Elena shouted, hit it with the BFG. Yuki grinned, hefting her oversized energy cannon. I thought you'd never ask, Colonel. The weapon's whine built to a crescendo before releasing a blinding beam of pure energy. The Praetor shrieked as the blast tore through its armor, sending it crashing into the central node. Move, Elena ordered, and her team sprinted for the exit as secondary explosions began to rock the chamber. They barely made it back to their insertion point, diving into the boarding torpedo seconds before it auto-launched from the dying swarm ship. As they sped away, Elena watched through a viewport as the massive dreadnought began to break apart. All around it, other swarm vessels were falling into disarray, their coordinated movements degrading into chaos. This is Rodriguez, she called over the fleet-wide channel. Dreadnought neutralized. How copy? Admiral Chen's voice came back, tight with controlled excitement. Solid copy, Colonel. Well done. All teams initiate Phase 3. Let's take back our solar system. Over the next several hours, the Alliance pressed its advantage. With the swarm's command and control structure in tatters, individual hive ships found themselves isolated and vulnerable. Human ingenuity continued to shine. Engineers aboard Alliance ships worked in real time to modify weapons and shields, adapting to each new swarm countermeasure almost as quickly as it appeared. The Firefly squadrons, proving even more effective than initially hoped, began to coordinate with larger capital ships in complex maneuvers that left swarm fleet formations in ruins. On Earth, Samara's team finally activated the Babel device. The effect was immediate and stark. Swarm ground forces across the planet suddenly lost cohesion, individual drones falling into confusion or simply shutting down. As the device's effect spread through the quantum entanglement network, it reached into space, amplifying the disruption the Alliance fleet had started. Admiral Chen watched in awe as swarm ships began to drift, their lights flickering and dying. Status report, he called, hardly daring to believe what he was seeing. Lieutenant Okoro's voice was filled with barely contained joy. Sir, swarm resistance is collapsing across all sectors. We're receiving reports from Earth. The ground forces are in full retreat. A cheer went up across the bridge, quickly spreading to the entire fleet as the news propagated. Chen allowed himself a small smile before raising his hands for quiet. "This is a great victory," he said, his voice carrying to every ship in the fleet. "But the war isn't over. Push the advantage. Secure Earth orbit and prepare for ground operations. We're taking back our home." As the Alliance fleet moved into position around Earth, dropships began to descend toward the battered surface. Elena found herself on one of the first waves, leading a mixed team of human and alien soldiers to secure a landing zone in what used to be Central Park. As her boots touched Earth's soil for the first time in over a year, Elena felt a surge of emotion. The sky was choked with smoke and dust, the familiar skyline of New York a broken shadow of its former self, but it was still home. "All right, people," she said, hefting her rifle. "Let's remind these bugs who this planet belongs to." Over the next few days, Alliance forces systematically cleared major population centers of remaining swarm resistance. Without their hive mind coordination, the alien invaders proved far less formidable. In hidden bunkers and resistance strongholds around the world, humans emerged to join the fight, their faces gaunt, but their eyes burning with determination. A week after the battle began, Admiral Chen stood atop the ruins of the United Nations building in New York, surrounded by representatives from every nation on Earth and a dozen alien species. "Today," he began, his voice carrying to billions watching around the world and across the stars, "we declare that humanity will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight." He paused, looking out over the battered but unbroken faces before him. "But more than that, we declare that we are not alone. In our darkest hour, we found friends among the stars. Together, we have taken the first step toward a future where the peoples of many worlds stand united against the darkness." Chen raised his fist to the sky. "The swarm thought they could break us. Instead, they have forged us into something stronger than we ever were alone. Today, we begin the work of rebuilding. And tomorrow, we take the fight to the stars." The roar of approval that went up seemed to shake the very earth. As humans embraced their alien allies, tears of joy mingling with tears of sorrow for all that had been lost, a new chapter in galactic history began. The swarm had been driven from Earth, but the war was far from over. In the coming months and years, humanity would venture out into the galaxy, not just as survivors, but as leaders in a grand alliance. The ingenuity and adaptability that had saved Earth would now be turned to a greater purpose, ensuring that no other world would suffer as theirs had. As the sun set on the first day of Earth's liberation, Admiral Chen found a quiet moment alone. Looking up at the stars, no longer obscured by the haze of war, he allowed himself to feel the full weight of what had been accomplished, and what still lay ahead. The battle for Earth was won. The battle for the galaxy was just beginning. 2 years had passed since the liberation of Earth. Humanity, alongside its alien allies, had pushed the swarm back across dozens of star systems. But for every victory, there was a sobering reality. The swarm's numbers seemed endless, and for every hive world destroyed, 2 more would rise to take its place. Admiral Michael Chen, now Supreme Commander of the Allied Galactic Forces, stood aboard the bridge of the Celestial Horizon, Earth's most advanced warship. The viewscreen showed a swirling nebula, beautiful and serene, belying the brutal battle that had just concluded in its depths. "Status report," Chen called, his voice wary but determined. Lieutenant Commander Zara Okoro, now his XO, responded promptly. "Sir, the Arcturian colony is secure. Swarm forces are in full retreat, but," she hesitated. "But what, Okoro? Speak freely." "Sir, our losses were significant. The Third Fleet is down to 60% capacity. If the swarm counterattacks in force, we may not be able to hold this sector." Chen nodded grimly. It was a story repeated across the front lines. The Alliance was winning battles, but the war of attrition was slowly turning against them. "Sir," Okoro continued, "there's a transmission coming in from Earth. It's Dr. Patel. She says it's urgent." Chen's eyebrows rose. Samara Patel, the the scientist who had first detected the swarm and later developed the Babel device, rarely made direct contact with the front lines. Put her through. The holographic image of Dr. Patel flickered to life on the bridge. Her eyes were bright with excitement, a stark contrast to the exhaustion evident on her face. "Admiral," she began without preamble, "we've made a breakthrough. I think we found the swarm's weakness." Chen leaned forward, suddenly alert. "Go on." "We've been analyzing the quantum entanglement patterns of captured swarm drones," Patel explained. "We always assumed their hive mind was decentralized, but we were wrong. There's a central node, a queen of queens if you will, coordinating the entire swarm across the galaxy." "A single point of failure," Chen breathed, the implications dawning on him. Patel nodded. "Exactly. If we can locate and neutralize its central node, we could potentially disrupt the entire swarm network. Not just temporarily, like with the Babel device, but permanently." "That's incredible news, Doctor. But how do we find this central node? The swarm controls thousands of worlds." "That's where it gets interesting," Patel said, her image flickering slightly. "We've detected a unique quantum signature emanating from a specific region of space. It's faint, but it's consistent with what we'd expect from a supremely powerful hive mind." Chen's mind raced with the possibilities. "Send me the coordinates. We'll assemble a task force immediately." As Patel's image faded, Chen turned to his crew. "Set course for Earth. We need to plan our next move carefully. This could be the key to ending the war." Weeks later, a massive Allied fleet assembled in orbit around a hidden base deep in neutral space. Ships of every size and description, representing dozens of species, formed up in complex formations. Aboard the celestial horizon, Chen addressed the assembled commanders, their faces grim but determined on the holographic displays surrounding him. "The intel provided by Dr. Patel has been confirmed," he began. "We've located what we believe to be the swarm's central hive world. It's deep in enemy territory, heavily defended, and unlike anything we've encountered before." He gestured, and a holographic map sprang to life, showing a massive planet surrounded by rings of defensive stations and patrolling fleets. "Our mission is simple, but far from easy. We must fight our way through the swarm's defenses, land a strike team on the surface, and neutralize the central node. If we succeed, we could end this war in a single stroke. If we fail..." He left the sentence unfinished. Everyone knew the stakes. "I won't lie to you. This will be the hardest fight of our lives. Many of us won't be coming back. But the fate of not just our own species, but of all free peoples in the galaxy, rests on this mission. We cannot fail." A chorus of affirmatives echoed through the comm channels. There was no cheering, no bravado, just grim determination. As the briefing concluded, Chen found himself approached by a familiar face. Colonel Elena Rodriguez, her armor scarred from countless battles, saluted crisply. "Admiral," she said, "I'd like to volunteer to lead the ground assault team." Chen nodded, unsurprised. "I was hoping you'd say that, Colonel. Your experience fighting the swarm is unmatched. Assemble your team, the best of the best, human and alien alike. You'll be dropping in hot, and failure is not an option." Elena's eyes gleamed with fierce determination. "Understood, sir. We won't let you down." As Elena left to prepare her team, Chen turned his attention back to the fleet. The next few hours were a flurry of last-minute preparations, weapons checks, and sullen goodbyes. Finally, the moment arrived. Chen stood at the center of the celestial horizon's bridge, surveying his officers. Each face was a mask of focus and determination. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Commence Operation Endgame." With a flash of energy, the massive Allied fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, hurtling toward their date with destiny. They emerged from FTL in a maelstrom of fire and chaos. The swarm, somehow alerted to their approach, had mustered a defensive force of staggering proportions. "All ships, break and attack," Chen ordered. Firefly squadrons, clear a path for our capital ships. Carrier groups, launch all fighters. Push through to the planet at all costs. The battle that ensued was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Tens of thousands of ships clashed in a sphere of destruction that spanned millions of kilometers. Firefly squadrons, led by the now legendary commander Arya Khan, darted between massive swarm-high ships, their advanced weaponry carving glowing furrows in alien hulls. Arcari cruisers unleashed salvos of energy weapons that could vaporize small moons, while Vexari boarding parties teleported directly onto enemy vessels, sowing chaos from within. And at the heart of it all, the Celestial Horizon led the charge, its experimental Nova cannon clearing vast swaths of enemy ships with each earth-shattering blast. But for every swarm ship destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. The Allies found themselves pushed back, their formation threatening to crumble under the relentless assault. "Admiral," Okoro called out, her voice strained, "we can't break through their lines. The planet's defenses are too strong." Chen gritted his teeth, watching as Allied ships blinked out of existence on his tactical display. They had come too far to fail now. "Patch me through to the entire fleet," he ordered. As the comm channel opened, Chen took a deep breath. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We are the last, best hope for countless worlds. Behind us lie the ashes of 1,000 civilizations consumed by the swarm. Before us stands the key to their destruction. We will not fail." His words seemed to ignite something in the Allied forces. Ships that had been retreating turned to face the enemy once more. Fighters flew with renewed vigor, their pilots pushing their crafts beyond design limits. "Now," Chen continued, his voice rising, "let's show these bugs what happens when you push the free peoples of the galaxy too far. All ships, concentrate fire on Sector 7G, punch a hole in their lines." The Allied fleet responded as one, a concentrated blast of energy weapons, missiles, and exotic armaments focusing on a single point in the swarm's defenses. For a moment, it seemed as if even this supreme effort would fail. Then, with a flash visible across the entire battlefield, a section of the swarm's defensive line collapsed. "We have breach," Okoro shouted. "Ground assault teams, you have your window." Elena Rodriguez, strapped into her drop pod with her elite team, felt the shift in the ship's momentum as it angled toward the planet's surface. "This is it, people," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Remember your training, watch each other's backs, and no matter what happens down there, know that you're the finest soldiers I've ever had the honor of serving with." A chorus of affirmatives came back, human voices mixing with the clicks, whistles, and rumbles of their alien comrades. The drop pods launched, streaking toward the planet's surface like meteors. Swarm point defense systems opened up, filling the sky with lethal energy bolts. Many pods were hit, exploding in brief, tragic flares, but enough made it through. Elena's pod slammed into the alien world's surface with bone-jarring force. As the hatch blew open, she emerged into a nightmarish landscape. The ground itself seemed alive, pulsing with veins of bioluminescent energy. Massive, organic structures rose into the sky, their purpose unknowable, but undoubtedly sinister. "Form up," she shouted, her weapon already tracking potential threats. "Move out. We find that central node and we end this war." As Elena's team fought their way across the living landscape of the swarm homeworld, the space battle continued to rage. The Celestial Horizon, battered but unbroken, pushed ever closer to the planet. "Sir," Okoro reported, "Colonel Rodriguez's team has made landfall. They're proceeding toward the suspected location of the central node." Chen nodded, his eyes never leaving the tactical display. "Maintain our position. We need to keep the swarm's attention up here while they do their job." Hours passed, each moment a lifetime of violence and heroism. Ships on both sides fell by the hundreds, their destruction adding brief, tragic beauty to the star-studded backdrop. Then, just as it seemed the Allies could not hold out any longer, a transmission cut through the chaos. "This is Rodriguez. We've reached the central chamber. Initiating quantum disruption sequence now." Chen held his breath, watching the planet's surface. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a wave spreading across the globe, a pulse of energy radiated outward. Swarm ships began to falter, their movements becoming erratic. On the celestial horizon's sensors, the complex quantum entanglement patterns that defined the swarm's hive mind began to unravel. "It's working," Okoro breathed, her eyes wide with disbelief. "My God, it's actually working." Chen allowed himself a small smile. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Push forward. Take out any swarm vessels still capable of flight. Don't let a single one escape." The tide turned with breathtaking speed. Without their central coordination, the vast swarm armada became little more than mindless drones, easily picked off by the more nimble and adaptable Allied forces. As the last swarm ship fell silent, a cheer went up across the Allied fleet. It started small, a few voices raised in triumph, but quickly swelled to a galaxy-spanning roar of victory. Chen slumped in his command chair, the weight of years seeming to lift from his shoulders. "Get me Colonel Rodriguez," he said softly. Elena's face appeared on the view screen, battered and bloodied but alive. Behind her, the massive chamber of the central node smoldered, its alien technology reduced to ruins. "Colonel," Chen said, a rare smile crossing his face, "I think you just won us the war." Elena saluted, her own grin matching his. "Just doing our job, sir. When's the pickup?" As arrangements were made to extract the ground teams, Chen turned to look out at the star-filled expanse beyond the horizon's viewports. The swarm was defeated, but he knew the real work was just beginning. Rebuilding shattered worlds, forging a lasting peace among the allied species, ensuring that nothing like the swarm could ever threaten the galaxy again. These would be the challenges of the coming years. But for now, in this moment, Chen allowed himself to feel the full weight of what they had accomplished. Humanity, once on the brink of extinction, had not only survived, but had played a crucial role in saving the entire galaxy. As the celestial horizon began its journey home, Chen knew that the future, while uncertain, was brighter than it had ever been. The stars, once a source of terror, now beckoned with the promise of new frontiers and lasting friendship among the peoples of the galaxy. The war was over. The age of recovery and of hope had begun. 5 years had passed since the fall of the swarm's central hive. The galaxy was healing, but scars remained. Abandoned worlds, shattered civilizations, and the ever-present reminder of how close all sentient life had come to extinction. Admiral Michael Chen, now serving as Earth's representative on the newly formed Galactic Council, stood before a window in the Great Assembly Hall on Arcturus Prime. The sprawling city below was a testament to interspecies cooperation, with architecture blending styles from a dozen worlds. "Admiring the view, old friend," a familiar voice called out. Chen turned to see Lyra, the Arkari ambassador who had first extended a hand of friendship to humanity in its darkest hour. Her iridescent skin shimmered in the alien sunlight. "Just thinking about how far we've come," Chen replied with a small smile. "And how far we still have to go." Lyra nodded, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "The council session today will be challenging. Many worlds still cry out for aid, and our resources are stretched thin." Before Chen could respond, a chime signaled the start of the session. As they took their seats, Chen couldn't help but marvel at the diversity represented in the chamber. Species that had been mortal enemies mere decades ago now worked side by side to rebuild the galaxy. The session began with reports from various reconstruction committees. Progress was being made, but it was slow. Countless worlds needed to be terraformed after swarm occupation had rendered them uninhabitable. Refugee populations strained the resources of host planets. And always, there was the fear that some remnant of the swarm might still be out there, waiting to strike. As the reports concluded, a hush fell over the chamber. It was time for the most contentious item on the agenda. High Counselor Zextra, a venerable Vexari known for his wisdom, rose to speak. Esteemed colleagues, we face a grave decision. The Genva system, once home to a thriving civilization, now lies in ruins. Its people are scattered, its worlds poisoned by swarm bioweapons. The cost to reclaim it would be astronomical. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Everyone knew where this was going. We must consider, Zextra continued, his mantis-like form trembling slightly, whether our limited resources would be better spent elsewhere. Perhaps it is time to accept that some losses cannot be undone. The chamber erupted into heated debate. Some argued passionately for the preservation of every culture, no matter the cost. Others, their voices heavy with pragmatism, insisted that difficult choices had to be made for the greater good. Chen listened to it all, his mind racing. Finally, he stood, and a hush fell over the room. Colleagues, friends, he began, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. I remember a time, not so long ago, when humanity stood alone against the swarm. We were on the brink of extinction, our world in flames, but we did not give up, and neither did you. He paused, making eye contact with representatives from a dozen different species. The Arkari extended a hand of friendship. The Vexari taught us new ways of war. The Zinfo shared the secrets of faster-than-light travel. Together, we did what none of us could do alone. We survived. Chen's voice grew stronger, filled with conviction. Now, we face a different kind of threat. Not the swarm, but our own despair. If we abandon the Zenva, if we decide that some worlds are beyond saving, we betray everything we fought for. We become no better than the swarm, writing off entire civilizations as acceptable losses. He spread his arms wide, encompassing the entire assembly. I propose a new initiative, not just for the Zenva, but for all worlds scarred by war. We will create an interspecies corps of scientists, engineers, and volunteers. We will pool our knowledge, our resources, and our determination. And we will reclaim every world, rebuild every civilization, no matter how long it takes. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then slowly, applause began to build. Species after species signaled their approval, until the entire assembly was on its feet in a thunderous ovation. As the session adjourned, plans already being drawn up for what would come to be known as the Galactic Reconstruction Corps, Chen felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Colonel, now General, Elena Rodriguez. "Quite a speech, sir," she said with a grin. "Looks like I'll be trading in my combat armor for an environmental suit." Chen raised an eyebrow. "You're volunteering for the corps?" Elena nodded. "Someone's got to keep those scientists safe out there. Besides," her expression grew more serious, "I've seen enough worlds burn. It's time to help some grow again." As they walked together out of the chamber, discussing the challenges ahead, Chen's communicator chimed. It was an urgent message from Earth. Dr. Samira Patel's face appeared on the small screen, her expression a mix of excitement and concern. "Admiral, we've made a discovery. You need to see this immediately." Hours later, Chen stood in a high-security laboratory beneath the rebuilt streets of London. Before him, suspended in a containment field, floated what appeared to be a small crystalline organ. "We found it in the ruins of a swarm hive ship," Patel explained. "At first, we thought it was just another bit of their biotechnology, but then we activated it." She pressed a button, and the crystal began to pulse with an inner light. Strange, haunting harmonies filled the air. "It's a recording device," Patel said softly. "But more than that, it contains the entire history of the swarm, their origins that travels across the stars." And she hesitated. "And what?" Chen prompted, a sense of unease growing in his gut. "And the reason for that endless expansion," Patel finished. "Admiral, the swarm wasn't just a mindless force of destruction. They were running from something that destroyed their home galaxy." Chen felt a chill run down his spine. Do we know what this threat is? Patel shook her head. The records are fragmented, but whatever it is, it's ancient, and if it followed the swarm here, then our victory might have been short-lived, Chen finished grimly. As he left the lab, his mind racing with the implications of this discovery, Chen knew that the galaxy's period of recovery might be shorter than anyone had hoped. A new threat loomed on the horizon, one that had already destroyed an entire galaxy. But as he looked up at the stars, visible even through London's light-polluted sky, Chen felt a fierce determination take hold. Humanity and its allies had faced extinction before. They had rebuilt from the ashes of near-total destruction. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. The Galactic Reconstruction Corps, initially conceived as a force for healing, might soon need to become something more. A first line of defense against a threat beyond imagination. Chen tapped his communicator. "Get me the Galactic Council. Priority Alpha, we have a situation." As he waited for the connection, Chen allowed himself a moment of reflection. The war against the swarm had forged humanity into something greater than it had ever been. Now, it seemed, the universe had an even greater challenge in store. But this time, they wouldn't be facing it unprepared. This time, the united species of the galaxy would stand as one against the darkness. Whatever was coming, Chen vowed, they would be ready. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, as if in approval of his determination. The next chapter in the galaxy's history was about to begin, and humanity would play a central role in shaping its outcome. As the council members began to appear on his communicator's screen, their faces etched with concern at the urgent summons, Chen took a deep breath. The time had come to prepare the galaxy for a threat beyond anything they had faced before. The reconstruction of worlds ravaged by the swarm would continue, but now with an added urgency. Every reclaimed planet, every restored civilization, would become a bastion against the approaching storm. "My friends," Chen began, his voice steady despite the weight of his news, "we face a new challenge. One that will require all of our courage, all of our ingenuity, and all of our unity." As he spoke, laying out the bare facts of Dr. Patel's discovery, Chen could see the shock and fear in the eyes of his fellow council members. But he also saw something else. The same determination that had carried them through the darkest days of the Swarm War. By the time the emergency session concluded, the first steps of a galaxy-wide preparation plan were already being put into motion. Research teams would be assembled to study the swarm artifact and decipher more of its secrets. The reconstruction course would be expanded, with a new mandate to not only rebuild, but to fortify. And deep in the void between stars, automated probes would be launched, ever vigilant for the first signs of an approaching threat. As Chen finally retired for the night, exhausted but resolute, he allowed himself a small smile. Whatever was coming, it would find a galaxy united, prepared, and unwilling to yield even a single world to darkness. The next great chapter of galactic history was about to unfold, and humanity, once a species on the brink of extinction, would help write it. A decade had passed since the discovery of the swarm artifact and its ominous warning. The galaxy had transformed in ways few could have imagined. The Galactic Reconstruction Corps, once focused solely on rebuilding, had evolved into a multifaceted organization that was part scientific institute, part defense force, and part diplomatic corps. Admiral Michael Chen, his hair now streaked with gray, stood on the bridge of the Celestial Horizon 2, the most advanced ship ever created by the combined efforts of the galaxy's greatest minds. Around him, a crew composed of dozens of species worked in perfect harmony, a living testament to the power of unity. "Status report," Chen called out, his eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of a wormhole that dominated the view screen. Lieutenant Commander Arya Khan, once the leader of the Firefly squadrons and now Chen's XO, responded promptly. "All systems nominal, Admiral. The Arkari dimensional stabilizers are holding the wormhole open. We're ready to make history." Chen nodded, a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through him. This mission represented the culmination of years of preparation, research, and cooperation between species that had once been bitter enemies. The wormhole before them was artificial, created using technology reversed engineered from the swarm artifact. It led to the very edge of the Andromeda Galaxy, the suspected origin point of both the swarm and the mysterious threat that had driven them. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. He broadcast to the fleet assembled around the horizon. You all know why we're here. On the other side of this wormhole lies either the greatest threat our civilization has ever faced, or the key to ensuring lasting peace in our galaxy. Whatever we find, we face it together. A chorus of affirmatives came back, each in the unique language or communication method of its species. Chen allowed himself a moment of pride. This fleet represented the very best the United Galaxy had to offer. Celestial Horizon 2, you have go for transit, came the voice of mission control back in the Milky Way. Godspeed and good hunting. Chen took a deep breath. Take us in. The great ship surged forward, leading the fleet into the maw of the wormhole. For a moment, reality seemed to twist and bend around them. Then, with a flash of light that momentarily blinded every sensor, they emerged. Position? Chen called out as soon as the disorientation passed. Confirming now, sir, Aria responded, her fingers flying over her console. We've done it. We're in the Andromeda Galaxy, right where we aim to be. A cheer went up across the bridge, quickly stifled as professionalism reasserted itself. They had crossed the vast gulf between galaxies, but their mission was far from over. Launch probes, Chen ordered. Full sensor sweep. Let's see what we're dealing with. As data began to pour in, a hush fell over the bridge. The region of space they had emerged into was empty. Where there should have been stars, planets, the bustling life of a galaxy, there was only void. This can't be right, Aria muttered, recalibrating her instruments. An entire sector of a galaxy doesn't just disappear. But as more data came in, the terrifying truth became clear. They were looking at the aftermath of destruction on a scale beyond imagination. Entire star systems had been not just destroyed, but erased from existence. Sir, a young Vexori science officer called out, his mandibles clicking nervously. We're detecting an energy signature. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Chen leaned forward, studying the readout. Can we get a visual? The main view screen shifted, zooming in on a point of light in the distance. As the image resolved, gasps of shock and fear rippled across the bridge. What they saw defied easy description. It was as if a piece of the universe itself had come alive, a swirling mass of dark energy shot through with veins of impossible light. As they watched, it seemed to pulse, growing and shrinking in a rhythm that sent shivers down Chen's spine. By the ancestors, Aria breathed. What is that thing? Before anyone could respond, the ship's communication system crackled to life. A voice, if it could be called that, filled the bridge. It was not sound, but pure meaning, bypassing their ears and speaking directly to their minds. You heavy tiaram, it said, each word a universe of concept and emotion. The CICLE nears its end. Chen steeled himself, drawing on years of diplomatic experience. I am Admiral Michael Chen of the United Galactic Alliance. We've come seeking knowledge and, if necessary, to defend our home. A sensation that might have been amusement rippled through the minds of everyone on the bridge. DFNT. Against US? Foolish. We are the end of all things, the reset beautyton of creation. Images flooded their minds, galaxies born, living and dying, over and over in an endless cycle. And behind it all, the entity they now faced, shepherding the process for reasons beyond mortal comprehension. The swarm, Chen managed to say, fighting through the mental onslaught. They were running from you. A failed experiment, the entity responded. A species uplifted too soon, given power they could not. Their destruction of your galaxy was unintended. We come to caresi yetero. Horror dawned on Chen as he understood the implications. You're going to destroy our entire galaxy, trillions of innocent lives. Innocence is irrelevant. The CICLE must continue. Your galaxy's time has come. Chen's mind raced. How could they possibly fight something like this? It was like ants trying to stop a supernova. But as he looked around the bridge, seeing the determination in the eyes of his multi-species crew, an idea began to form. Wait, he said, his voice growing stronger. You say you shepherd the cycle of creation, but look at us. Look at what we've achieved. He gestured to his crew, to the fleet of ships representing dozens of species working in harmony. We've united an entire galaxy. Species that once tried to destroy each other now work side by side. We've crossed the void between galaxies. We stand here, facing the incomprehensible, and we do not break. Chen took a step forward, his voice ringing with conviction. Is this not the very pinnacle of creation? A civilization that can stand united against the darkness, that can create wonders your cycle has never seen before. For a long moment, there was silence. Then, the entity spoke again, its mental voice tinged with something that might have been curiosity. You are different, unexpected, perhaps worthy of FURTAHER obvious elevation. The sensation that followed was indescribable. It was as if the entire ship, the entire fleet, was being examined on a level beyond physical reality. Every mind was laid bare, every achievement and flaw catalogued in an instant. When it was over, the entity's voice returned, now filled with a new emotion, wonder. In ALLRAXISTNC, we AKVENEVAR in Kauntierihi, Enuiting like you. Your UNIT in diversity, your ability to grow beyond your limitations, it is beautiful. The swirling mass of energy began to shift, coalescing into a form that was almost comprehensible. We will spare your galaxy. More than that, we will share with you the knowledge of eons. Together, perhaps, we can write a new chapter in the story of creation. As the entity began to transmit information, secrets of the universe that would keep scientists busy for millennia, Chen felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They had done it, not through force of arms, but through the very unity and diversity that made their civilization unique. The journey home was filled with a mixture of relief, excitement, and awe. As the fleet emerged from the wormhole back into the Milky Way, they were greeted by cheers and celebrations from every world. In the years that followed, the galaxy underwent a renaissance. With the knowledge gifted by the entity, new forms of energy were discovered, faster-than-light travel was revolutionized, and the mysteries of the universe began to unfold. But more than that, the experience had changed the very soul of galactic civilization. The knowledge that they had faced the ultimate test and emerged victorious not through strength, but through unity and the uniqueness of their diverse culture became a foundational part of every species' worldview. Decades later, an aged Admiral Chen stood before the Galactic Council one last time. As he looked out at the assembled representatives, humans, Arcari, Vexari, and a dozen other species, including some that had only joined the galactic community in recent years, he felt a sense of profound satisfaction. My friends, he began, his voice still strong despite his years, we stand at the dawn of a new era. We have faced extinction and emerged stronger. We have confronted the very forces that shape the universe and proved our worth. But our greatest achievement is not out there in the stars. It's here, in this room, in the bonds we have forged between our peoples. He smiled, looking at each council member in turn. Whatever challenges the future may hold, I know that we will face them as we have faced every trial, together. For in our unity, tempered by the fire of diversity, we have found a strength greater than any force in the universe. As applause filled the chamber, Chen knew that his part in the great galactic story was coming to an end. But the tale itself, the endless adventure of exploration, discovery, and cooperation between the stars, was just beginning. Outside the council chamber, the night sky was filled with stars, each one a beacon of possibility, a reminder of how far they had come and how far they had yet to go. And among those stars, watched over by forces beyond mortal comprehension, the United Galactic Alliance continued to grow, to learn, and to reach ever outward into the cosmic ocean. The greatest adventure in the history of all species had only just begun.